Damien Mckinney. I'm currently the global CEO for Stolly. I first came to Barbados, actually, it's probably 2 or 3 times, so I can explain. I was first here in 1988 through to 1990. I was in the Royal Marines, I was in the military, and I was here as an advisor. Frankly, that's the moment when I fell in love with Barbados. It was one of those moments. I can still remember the day when I was driving down the road, knowing I was going to catch a flight that night, thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful to live here? But I'm probably never going to come back. I came back again in 2007 with a family. By this stage, I'd left the military. I'd been in business for about almost 10 years at that point. And we were living in New York at the time, and it was very much a go down memory lane, have this lovely family holiday. We were actually on the West Coast in St. James at the time, and we were in the swimming pool. And that was the moment where my eldest daughter said, "Dad," and I looked up and everybody was in the pool, "Dad, can we live here?" And you had that lovely thought that's running through your head. Maybe it's a bit too romantic. We were living in a 2-bedroom apartment in Chelsea, New York, running a business. The headquarters was there. And suddenly is a moment to make a decision. And I looked around and said, if that's what you really want, then we're going to come back and we're going to live here. That was the start of the journey. And we physically moved here in August 2008. So once I decided that we had a physical office, but actually more important, and especially in this COVID world in which we live in today, is how do you ensure that 24/7 you're connected? And in my case, connected to the world. Well, the first thing is, I suppose not surprisingly, there are a lot of very, very good providers here in Barbados. But here's a little bit of magic. Often people say to me, why do you live in Barbados? And I say, the sun. I get off that plane and I feel warm. I can hear the music in the air, and we provide great rum. But I'll tell you what, we also have fiber optic cables. So for me, the fact that I could digitally connect, and I love video conferencing. I've been using video conferencing for years. The fact that I could see Japan, and Jin, who runs our Japanese business, was perfect. So literally, I put the technology in place, so it meant I had connectivity. The other piece is communication. Can you get on and off the island? Yes. To be honest, I quite often refer to this lovely rock we live on as an aircraft carrier. I could very easily fly to London several times. I could go to New York. I can go to Miami. I could go to Panama. It's very easy to fly around the world. So and then the sort of final piece of the equation was people to support. Now, inevitably, forming your headquarters, I brought my human resources, my finance, my chief staff. I brought up a lot of them here, but also there are some fantastic quality people, very experienced, very capable, who've also got global experience, who've come back to Barbados. So all I did then was reinforce the various functional areas with local people, and it worked brilliantly. And I suppose the final piece of the equation is, what do you say to somebody when you're on a video conference and they're sitting in the US or they're sitting in Tokyo? And of course, they are skeptical talking to you because they're convinced that you're wearing a pair of shorts and that that you're actually just here with your surfboard to go swimming. It didn't take long for me to actually get them to understand that actually, far from moving from New York made a step down, actually in real terms, I believe it was a step up. So once we decided to set the headquarters up, and I've given you some reasons to believe, frankly, that it works, inevitably you need to anchor it. And you anchor it in 2 areas. One is from a legal governance perspective, obviously with government departments, etc. Honestly, I found that really easy, relatively easy. I know that, frankly, anywhere in the world, there's still a queue somewhere. There's still paperwork somewhere, maybe digital these days. And by the way, Barbados is I think, leading the way in a lot of the digital aspects. That process wasn't difficult. Is that whilst politics, you have 2 parties and everybody's sort of vying in any sort of multi-party state, actually it's amazing how actually everybody works together. So our present Prime Minister, Mia Motley, was the leader of the opposition, was also giving advice and supportive of it. So I felt like people wanted us to be here and were being supportive. One of the things when I first came to Barbados, I go back to that village comment I made earlier on. and I'm sorry, maybe I should stop using that term because it's much bigger than a village, especially having just seen our Prime Minister recently and the speeches she's made in the UN, etc. Which, by the way, is just a reference of fact that we seriously in this island, in this country, punch well above our weight. So maybe there's a connection there to why a global CEO could be here. A year and a half ago, Stolly, the founder and the owner of the company, we had a virtual meeting. And halfway through this, he said, look, we'd really like you to become the global CEO. Like all decisions again, that's a really easy one because you go, well, I've always admired the brand. I think it's an amazing company. I've worked with many beverage alcohol companies over the years, and I think it's one that has huge opportunities for transformation and growth. And the brand itself is one I've always admired. Of course, then as always, the practical side of life then sets in because global headquarters is in Luxembourg. It is not in Barbados. It is not anywhere that I've operated. And so inevitably the question mark was, well, where are you going to base it? I have to say there was no debate as far as I was concerned. And in that meeting, I said, look, I'm happy to do this, but I want to stay in Barbados. And whilst the main headquarters, and I have a CFO and we have all the associated substance based in Luxembourg, I have all the technology that I need here. I have the ability to fly around the world. I have the ability to go to meetings in Luxembourg. By the way, it hasn't opened yet because of COVID. But literally since the day, and I've been doing this now for I think 15 months, I've driven a very, very big transformation in the company. We've changed a lot of the employees. We've changed new systems. We've changed the structures. We've launched new brands. And at the end of this year, we're going to be about 45% up.